Hey, what's going on, guys? In a couple weeks at UFC 296, in the main event, we are getting a welterweight title fight between Leon Edwards and Colby Covington. And I thought now was the perfect time to make a video about the true #1 contender, Belal Muhammad. Because it's time that Belal Muhammad gets the respect that he deserves. And what inspired me to make this video was some outright delusional comments by Sean Brady and Gilbert Burns regarding their fights with Belal Muhammad. And we're going to take a look at those clips in this video. But if any other fighter said these types of things, they would be getting ostracized. But it seems like nobody cares that Sean Brady or Gilbert Burns were saying these things. If Belal Muhammad said these very same things, you would literally never hear the end of it. So I want to discuss it in this video. But you also have a large portion of the fan base who do not like Belal Muhammad. So they use these constant narratives to discredit Belal Muhammad, and a lot of them are just untrue. So I'm going to break them down in this video because, like I said earlier, Belal Muhammad is the true #1 contender of the welterweight division. He deserves the title shot at UFC 296 against Leon Edwards over Colby Covington. But I'm not here to sit here and debate that. What's done is done. Colby's already getting a shot. But the best we can do is give Belal Muhammad respect going forward. So first off, I want to start off by saying, every time I've talked about Belal Muhammad not getting his title shot, I've said, you know what? He's on a 9-fight win streak. It's clear as day. He is the guy that deserves the next welterweight title shot. He should be fighting Leon Edwards at 296, and he should be next in line for the winner. I've had people tell me, Joey, it's not a 9-fight win streak because he had the no contest to Leon Edwards. Which, if you look at it, technically that's true. You have 4 wins from Belal Muhammad after his last loss. Then you have the no contest. And then you have 5 wins from Belal Muhammad. So technically, that no contest breaks up that 9-fight win streak. But that is just a way to discredit Belal Muhammad. Let's be honest here. That's arguing semantics. We didn't get to see the fight play out. There was an eye poke. That fight doesn't count. He's on a 9-fight win streak. But if you want to be really honest and frame it in a way that says, oh, you know, okay, well, it's not really a win streak because he has the no contest. Let's frame it a different way then. Belal Muhammad is on a 10-fight unbeaten streak. See how easy that is to just kind of change it around, and all of a sudden it sounds even better. If I'm Belal Muhammad, I'm shouting that from the rooftops. I'm on a 10-fight unbeaten streak, and I even fought Leon Edwards. So people are just saying, oh, it's not a 9-fight win streak because he had a no contest. All right, for now on, I'm going to refer to it as a 10-fight unbeaten streak. And not only is it such a good win streak, look at the level of opposition he's fighting. If you look back at his last few opponents, you have Gilbert Burns, who is current. These are current rankings. These aren't the rankings when they fought him, but these are all recent fights. He's been very active. Burns is currently ranked #4. Brady is ranked #9. Luque is ranked #8. And Wonderboy Thompson is ranked #6 currently. So all of his last 4 wins, those opponents are still ranked in the top 10. And let's just be very clear, none of those fights were that competitive. They were all clear-cut. They weren't even close. He dominated Gilbert Burns, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a second. He stopped Sean Brady, TKO'd Sean Brady. He beat Vicente Luque, easily out-wrestled Vicente Luque. Did the same to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Did the same to Damian Maia, beat him on the feet. Well, didn't out-grapple him. I said he did the same, but he dominated him. He dominated all these fights. These fights were not competitive. The Leon Edwards fight, we'll talk about that more in a little bit. That was a no contest because of an eye poke early in the fight. But let's go to the Gilbert Burns fight, because you go back to UFC 288, I almost said 298, which was May of this year. You had fights falling out left and right at 288, so they needed a fight to put in there to make that pay-per-view card better. So they called Belal Muhammad and offered him Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns had just fought a couple weeks prior against Jorge Masvidal. He was in shape. He didn't take any damage in the Jorge Masvidal fight. So Gilbert Burns is in shape. Belal Muhammad came off the couch right after Ramadan. He hadn't been in a training camp, and he had an injured ankle. And he went in there, took a 5-round fight on short notice, on a couple weeks' notice, coming off the couch, coming off Ramadan with an injured ankle. And he beats Gilbert Burns and absolutely dominates him in every aspect. He doesn't get the finish, but Gilbert Burns is very hard to finish. But he dominates Gilbert Burns. The entire narrative coming out of that fight is, if Gilbert Burns wouldn't have injured his shoulder, he would have won. Well, newsflash, Belal Muhammad was winning before the shoulder injury. And on top of that, guess who injured that shoulder? Belal Muhammad injured that shoulder. So I don't want to hear this, oh, he didn't finish a guy with one arm. He's the one that did that to Gilbert. I remember a lot of people talking about, look at all this long list of injuries Gilbert Burns has coming out of the fight. Gilbert was in shape. He had just went through a training camp. Belal Muhammad came off the couch with an ankle injury coming off Ramadan, not prepared to fight at all. And he whooped Gilbert Burns. And this long list of injuries that Gilbert Burns had, well, guess what? That just shows how bad of a beating that Belal Muhammad put on it. And you could say, oh, it was a freak injury. I don't care. That's like saying, well, if he wouldn't have got caught on the chin and knocked out, he would have won. It doesn't matter. You're arguing semantics. He went out there and dominated Gilbert Burns, who is one of the best welterweights in the world, on short notice. Hot take, maybe? I don't even think this should be a hot take. If you rebook them, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the video when we look at the clip from Gilbert Burns. If you rebook them right now, I'm picking Belal Muhammad on 100% training camp. I think he probably stops Gilbert Burns. Maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but the way he was beating him coming off the couch, I highly favor Belal Muhammad. Belal Muhammad, if he would have lost, he would have had every excuse in the world. He probably wouldn't have used them like Gilbert Burns has been doing, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But if he would have lost, he'd be like, oh, I'm coming off the couch. I was injured too. So he went into a fight injured, took a 5-round fight on a couple weeks' notice with no training camp and dominated one of the best welterweights in the world. Doesn't get enough respect for that. Then you look at the Sean Brady fight, which we're going to talk about this fight a little bit more later. This was back at UFC 280 in October. He stops Sean Brady, stops him, TKOs him in the second round, literally bullies Sean Brady, bullies him and finishes him. And Sean Brady at this point in time was undefeated. He was a hot prospect. Some people were saying, oh, he's going to be a title challenger. He might even be a champion one day. Belal Muhammad went out there and bullied him and TKO'd him. And a lot of people also talk about Belal's so boring. You know, his fights aren't that good. Well, that Sean Brady fight was pretty good. The Gilbert Burns fight I thought was rather exciting. It wasn't the craziest fight in the world. And even if you look at, over the course of his career, none of Belal Muhammad's fights, at least none of the ones in recent memory, were absolute snorefest. And what's crazy to me, and I've mentioned this so many times, the people who habitually call Belal Muhammad boring, they're the same people who love Colby Covington and Sean Strickland, who literally have boring styles. Colby Covington is a more boring version of Belal Muhammad. I don't find Colby boring. I've said that a million times. I don't find him boring. I don't find Sean Strickland that boring. But if you're looking at it objectively and you're saying Belal's boring, well, then you have to say Colby's boring. You have to say Strickland's boring. It's because they don't like his personality, among many other things. But even the Vicente Luque win, rather dominant win. But I want to skip back. We'll forget about the Wonderboy Thompson and the Damian Maia win. I want to talk about the Leon Edwards no contest, because a lot of context has been lost on this fight. Because a lot of people have said, I don't want to see Belal Muhammad fight for the title. We've already seen him fight Leon Edwards. First off, that was back in March of 2021. We are almost to March of 2024. So it's almost been 3 years. It's over 2.5 years since that fight happened. You're telling me fighters don't get better? You're telling me fighters don't improve? That makes absolutely no sense. And another piece of context that nobody adds to that story is the fact that Belal Muhammad took that fight on short notice. People have a short memory. They don't remember that Khamzat Chimaev was scheduled to fight Leon Edwards in December. Then it got rescheduled to January. Then it got rescheduled to March. Now, Khamzat did pull out of the March fight about a month out or 3 weeks out. Belal Muhammad stepped in on short notice. And was he losing the fight in the first round? It only went a round and like a couple minutes into the second round. Was he losing it? Yeah, he was losing. Was it a domination, an utter domination? No, it wasn't. And since when do we take, a round and a half of a fight and say, oh, well, he was winning there, so he would have probably definitely won the rest of the 5 rounds of the fight. Imagine if you applied that logic to Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira 1, or Yuri Prohaska versus Glover Teixeira, or Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman 2, where Leon Edwards got the 5th round brutal head kick KO. So I don't want to hear this that, well, he lost 1 round to Leon Edwards 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago, when he took the fight on short notice, when Leon Edwards had a full camp. So that's why we don't want to see him get a title shot when he's improved vastly over the last 3 years. It makes absolutely no sense. And it's just because people don't like Belal Muhammad for his personality or whatever the litany of reasons they make, for why they don't like Belal. It makes no sense. And this isn't a Belal Muhammad comparison to Colby Covington, but I just want to throw this out there. So I already talked about, you look at the rankings. He fought Gilbert Burns, who's ranked number 4 currently. He fought Sean Brady, who's ranked number 9 currently. Fought Vicente Luque, who's ranked number 8 currently. He fought Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who's ranked number 6 currently. Today's rankings. We're not jumping in a time machine to say, oh, well, back when he beat him, they were ranked high. Because let me go through all of Colby Covington's ranked wins currently. Oh, wait, he doesn't have any. He doesn't have any current ranked wins on his resume. He's 2-2 in his last 4. He beat the dead body of Jorge Masvidal in his last fight, and that was almost 2 years ago. It's crazy to me that people discredit Belal Muhammad. Look how active he is, too. Since Colby Covington last fought, Belal Muhammad has fought 3 times in the span that Colby has sat out for 2 years. So it's a disgrace that Belal Muhammad's not getting the title shot. But again, I'm not making that argument in this video. I just wanted to say, look at the comparison there. Belal Muhammad has an excellent resume, and people act like he's not a good fighter. Now, I want to get back to the Gilbert Burns fight because he dominated Gilbert Burns, but Gilbert Burns got a takedown stuffed. I think it was in the 1st or 2nd round. He was losing before he got injured, but he got a takedown stuffed. Belal stuffed his takedown, and then both of their weights landed on Gilbert Burns' shoulder, and he injured his shoulder. And then he lost the rest of the fight, and it went to decision. Well, Gilbert Burns recently did an interview where he talked about that fight and a potential rematch. He was saying, yeah, I'd really like a rematch against Belal Muhammad. And we're going to take a look at what he had to say, and then we're going to come back and react to it.
And you fought him injured as well. Maybe a healthy Gilbert Burns, it's a different fight.
No, maybe no. 100%. Me healthy, I'll destroy Belal Muhammad. I'll get that win back. I don't know if it's going to happen right now, but it's going to happen. And I'll show, like, not for him, not just for me, but for everybody that I'm way better than him.
So there you hear Gilbert Burns say, not maybe, 100% if I'm healthy, I'll get that win back. I'll destroy Belal Muhammad. This is downright delusional. This was the optimal circumstances for Gilbert Burns to get a win over Belal Muhammad. The optimal circumstances. Gilbert just came off a full training camp. He just had a fight where he didn't take any damage, and Belal Muhammad's coming off the couch, hasn't fought since October. It's now May of the following year. So kind of been a little bit inactive, not really too much in the grand scheme of things, but hasn't fought in several months, not in a training camp because Ramadan just took place, and Belal Muhammad had an injured ankle. But yeah, I'll destroy him 100% if I'm healthy. Well, guess what? Belal's the one that injured you. So you might go into that fight again healthy, and he might injure you again. It's just a delusional statement. And what drove me nuts about this is, could you imagine if Belal said this same thing? Imagine Belal would have lost that fight. And he said, look, I took it on 2 weeks' notice. I'm coming off the couch. I haven't been training because of Ramadan. And I had an injured ankle. People would crucify him for it because making excuses for fights that you decided to take, it's just a bad look. Let the fans do that for you. And the fans did plenty of that for Gilbert Burns after that fight at 288. It's a delusional statement. I would destroy him. Well, he's going to have a full camp now. He's hopefully going to come in 100%. He wasn't 100% either. And he's going to have a full training camp. So I don't understand why he thinks, oh, I know these fighters have to be delusional. But, I mean, this is just, it looks horrible. And I know Gilbert Burns is known as like the savage and he'll take any fight. But this is a bad look. This is a really bad look. I'd destroy him if I was healthy. Well, he's the one that made you not healthy. He's the one that made you not healthy. So maybe next time, you should just work on improving, work on getting better because you lost before you were getting injured. Before he got injured, Belal Muhammad was winning that fight. So for the people applying that logic to the Leon Edwards fight, let's apply it to Gilbert Burns as well. Well, before the injury, Belal was winning, so that means he definitely wins the fight anyway. And he dominated him for 5 rounds. He outstruck him, stuffed the takedowns, and he came off the couch. So in my opinion, I would definitely take Belal Muhammad in a rematch if they were both 100%. And I'm pretty sure probably the majority of the MMA community might agree with me, even though they say otherwise, because for whatever reason, they dislike Belal Muhammad. Now, also, I want to get to Sean Brady's comments because Sean Brady, undefeated, went into that fight against Belal Muhammad with a lot of hype. A lot of people were picking Sean Brady, and he lost the fight. He got stopped. He didn't look that good in the fight. He got bullied, literally bullied, no pun intended. Belal Muhammad, it was competitive in the first round. Both guys landed shots. Belal was kind of walking him down, eating a couple shots, landing a couple shots. And then as Belal Muhammad really started to turn up the pressure, he started to make Sean Brady wilt. And he eventually TKOs him. But recently, Sean Brady did an interview because this weekend, Sean Brady's taking on Kelvin Gastelum. And let's take a look at what Sean Brady had to say about his loss to Belal Muhammad.
Put it in context, it makes it easier too.
Yeah, and like I said, man, I think if I fight Belal 10 times, he beat me that one, I'd beat him the other 9. But I'm super happy for him to see where he's at, and hopefully he'll keep winning, I'll keep winning, and we'll get to do it again.
So there you hear Sean Brady saying, I think if I fight Belal 10 times, I beat him 9 times, he beats me that one time. This is the same Sean Brady that was fighting for his life in the 3rd round against Michael Chiesa not that long ago. Michael Chiesa's not that good. Michael Chiesa's getting older. Michael Chiesa's at a point where he should probably retire. And I know that was, 2 years, or that was like 2 years ago now when he fought Sean Brady. But nonetheless, Sean Brady hasn't fought the best competition by any means. He doesn't have any, really one win that you can point out and be like, this was a great win by Sean Brady. He looked impressive. He damn near got TKO'd by Michael Chiesa at the end of the 3rd round. Had it been a 5-round fight, I can confidently say Michael Chiesa would have won that fight. He got destroyed by Belal Muhammad and literally bullied in the fight and finished. And instead of saying, you know what? Belal was the better man that night. He got me that night, but I'm working, I'm improving, I'm going to get better, and I like to see that rematch down the line, and I think I can get a different result. He's got to say, you know what? And he went on in this interview, and I'll link both interviews down below in the description if you want to check out the full interviews for context. He went on to say, or it might even been before this, yeah, I was just, I was undefeated, and it was getting in my head that I was undefeated, and that's why, I got in my own head, and that's why I lost. It's just excuse after excuse after excuse. Oh, I couldn't have just lost to Belal Muhammad because he's the better fighter. And the crazy thing is, a lot of fans eat this stuff up, and I'm tired of hearing it. I'm flat out tired of hearing about it. Just because you dislike a fighter does not mean you get to warp the narrative and just discredit them and discredit their wins because you don't like them. That's not how this works. So I'm going to set the narrative straight. Last 4 wins, all still currently ranked in the top 10 of the welterweight division, and dominated every single one of them and finished one of them. He unequivocally deserves the next welterweight title fight. And if he doesn't get it, that's an absolute embarrassment. This sport is WWE at that point. And I know if Colby Covington wins against Leon Edwards, he's going to be ducking Belal like crazy. He's going to be calling out everybody but the contenders. He's not going to fight Belal. He's not going to fight Shavkat. And if Leon Edwards wins, he's already said, I want to change divisions if I beat Colby. What? You're looking at your 2nd title defense and you're talking about changing divisions? So I just think the welterweight division is a mess. I cannot wait. And I know people say I'm biased towards certain fighters. The only reasons I like certain fighters is activity and skill level. I cannot wait for the day, and the fact that they don't duck opponents. I cannot wait for the day that Belal Muhammad or Shavkat Rakhmonov or any other fighter, whether it be Jack Della Maddalena or Ian Machado Gary, I cannot wait for the day that there's someone again at the top of the welterweight division that is willing to defend their belt against actual contenders like Kamaru Usman was, who was actually active in the division as well, instead of trying to just find ways to duck #1 contenders and try to say, I want a super fight, I barely defended my belt, but I want a super fight in another weight class. It's delusional. And then you have contenders like Gilbert Burns and Sean Brady making the most delusional excuses ever. Imagine if that was Belal. He would literally be crucified by the fan base if he made those same excuses. And he actually has a better case to make excuses for those fights. So it just makes absolutely no sense. I wanted to make a video because Belal Muhammad's not getting the respect that he deserves. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe. And thank you so much for watching.